Hello and welcome to the Footy Mailbag. We are back for the 2025 season. My name is Damo, and joining me in this episode is Stephen of SDS SuperCoach. How are you, mate?
Going good, mate. Well, tell you what, that's the quickest off season of all time, that's for sure. So, but yeah, now it's time to start talking about 2025.
Some people never stopped. So at least we had a break of some kind. And we've also got Skiddy of Insight Fantasy Sports joining us. How are you, mate?
G'day, legends. Yeah, I'm going very, very nicely. And yeah, good to see that the draft is now done. So now we can start to look forward, like, SuperCoach-wise, just get the goddamn opening for us. That'd be awesome. But, I mean, until then, we can just speculate and start having some good chats like this.
Yeah, hopefully the team picker opens in about a month, usually around Christmas or Boxing Day. That opens, so something to look forward to for us adults around Christmas. Something to something to unwrap from under the tree there. But yeah, as you said, the national preseason and rookie drafts have been done and dusted. But what we're going to do in this episode is talk about where do the new players fit, who is Supercoach relevant, who is actually going to play. And we're going to go team by team, alphabetical order, look at every team's projected best 23, where the new players might fit in. And we don't really need to ramble on much further than this. Let's just start with Adelaide. So Adelaide drafted Sid Draper early and then Tyler Welsh late. Obviously relisted some players in the rookie draft as well. But out of all the players that are coming into that side, obviously they traded in James Peatling, Isaac Cumming, all those guys as well. But Sid Draper, you'd assume that he would make up some of their midfield in 2025.
On that perfectly. For sure. I mean, I think Adelaide have actually just all in all have had a ripping off season of just bringing players in through the trade period. I think all their pickups have been very good. You get James Peatley in coming and Neil Bullen. But then you add in Sid Draper, just another bloke that could fit into that midfield. So I think he's a different type of midfielder to what Adelaide have currently had in their side. And then I think Peatling works really well as a defensive, can help out defensively in that midfield. So I think Sid Draper fits a need from South Australia, that fast midfielder. We just got to hope that Matthew Nicks can just drop him into the midfield straight away. None of this half forward business that kills you. So hopefully we get him in the midfield because, yeah, I think now all of a sudden Adelaide's midfield starts to look so much better than it did 3 months ago.
Yeah, I could not agree more with what you said there, mate. I really hope Sid Draper does come in as well. We can piss off the ball magnet that is Matt Crouch that does literally zero impact with the ball. So hopefully he can start to take into his spots. But I'm most excited about everything else that they've brought in. It seems so weird when you're talking about an AFL team and Mitch Hinge is on the verge of not being in the best 23. Like, he had such a good year last year. And now we're saying, hey, like, because of the guys they've brought in incoming and Neil Bullen and the like, they are looking like an extremely, really good team. I can't wait to see how they go. Obviously, they're going to still get more of their younger guys coming up as well with Rochelle and Phil Thorpe and that kind. So, yeah, Adelaide looking real dangerous next year.
And with Sid Draper adding to that midfield, it probably takes away some of the minutes that Isaac Rankin was getting in 2024. So it probably lessens the value of picking an Isaac Rankin in our forward lines and might, in fact, rule him out entirely. And we know the impact that he can make when he goes in there. But with Sid Draper coming through and needing the midfield minutes or probably getting the midfield minutes, or maybe not needing them, but Isaac Rankin might stay a bit more forward and be more of a forward 50 impact player. So Sid Draper might also affect that side of things as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But also, too, they could just go the same way that they do with most other rookies where they just start him off the half forward line and then they keep with Rankin doing his thing. And we all get pissed off by round 3 because Sid Draper's not getting played enough.
My one knock I will give Adelaide in this off-season is, again, not addressing the ruck position. Again, with just O'Brien and Straunchan. He's been on the list for about 10 years, and I still don't know how to pronounce that name, Strawn. Strawn.
Strawn.
Just the fact they haven't addressed it. I don't recall the last time they've drafted a ruckman. probably since Strawn. So that'd be the one knock on them. That's not really SuperCoach relevant, but yeah, I just think if they could grab another ruck, that could really help them moving forward even more.
And because of his junior because of his junior career, I think Sid Draper has the potential to be dual position. I'm not gonna, lock that in, but there's a chance that he could be mid forward as well, which would be super helpful to all of us to fit all these rookies in that are going to be relevant in 2025. If we move to Brisbane, they picked up Levi Ashcroft, obviously, with pick 5. He slid down the order. He wasn't bid on until pick 5, which is a travesty in terms of drafting, but awesome for us in Supercoach because of his price. I've got him probably pushing out someone like a Connor McKenna out of that 23, but Brisbane have a lot of players to come back into the team that won the grand final. There is a chance that he isn't there in round 1. Like, I've got him penciled in at the moment, but there is a chance that he has to bide his time a little bit.
I don't mind that call because, I mean, it's fairly hard. I mean, it just shows how good of a prospect he is, because it's pretty hard to crack into a premiership winning side. So, I mean, there's no guarantees that Ashcroft can fit in, but there's every chance he can. But yeah, it will be a pretty tough effort. But the fact that he got bid on at pick 5 certainly helps us for picking a side next year who will be under 200k, which will be nice. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of teams in the team picker selecting Will Ashcroft and Levi Ashcroft. So, yeah, I think we'll be following that brotherhood throughout the preseason.
Yeah,
Skiddy, they also drafted Sam Marshall as well, and he's a highly rated youngster, but he's probably the one that would, relinquish a position more than Levi Ashcroft might.
I would have to agree there. I mean, as Marshall can be, viable for him probably later on in the season, maybe, once they've had a couple of games into him, we're looking like round 14 or something like that, they start to bring him in. But yeah, Marshall could be a bit more used there. The Ashcroft, though, he is such a tantalising player and prospect. People think, like, how come we're getting so excited about him? Like, we saw what he did in the Colts in the underages. He was unbelievably good. We're talking 35, 40 disposals. And, for Supercoach, he could really bring in some big scores straight away. But, again, these are the premiers. It is going to be bloody hard to crack straight into this side. So we'll have to wait and see. But hopefully he goes well.
And they've also got Tom Duday and Gideon Coleman that they need to fit back in as well. Lincoln McCarthy's going to come back from an ACL. Who knows if he's even in their best 23 anymore? You'd assume so, but Kai Lohman, Callum Archie, Logan Morris rose up the ranks and probably have some claims to a spot now. So it's going to be a hard team to crack into, but gee, they're looking like, as all premiership teams do, they are looking really strong. And to add that player, a player of Ashcroft's ilk, and then Sam Marshall, and we need to talk about Ty Gallop as well, who's going to probably develop into a nice big-bodied forward. They're just going to get stronger and stronger, and this could be a really strong team for quite a long time.
Bang on, and that's scary. Don't like it.
Definitely scary. If we move on to Carlton, so I didn't put together a 23 for them. I actually passed it on to Lekdog. I handed him the depth charts sheet that you would have seen on our socials and said, here, you put this together. And then he kind of coached me through everyone that they drafted and where they would probably fit. How Jagger Smith fits into this Carlton lineup is going to be really interesting, because I've had multiple Carlton people tell me a different player that he's going to push out. So I've had, he's going to push out Brody Kemp, and they're going to kind of have a hybrid forward line with the third tall being someone like an Elijah Hollands or someone along those lines. I've had someone tell me that it's going to be Mark Pitney, and they're going to go with one ruck in Tom DeConning with perhaps a McGovern or someone like or a Mackay backing him up. And then I've also had Lockie Fogarty and Jordan Boyd as the players mentioned as being unlucky to be pushed out by Jagger Smith. So I think the consensus is that he's going to be in the 23, but there's not a consensus on who he pushes out. And we saw the impact Sam Walsh had as a junior when he came into the Carlton side as a rookie. And I think Jagger Smith is a fairly similar player who could have a fairly similar impact straight away. It's just a matter of how they use him and whether he's more inside or outside, forward or back. But he's definitely going to be a rookie that we need to consider.
Yeah, I think I think he'll be in contention straight away to get in. But we do notice, ever since Michael Voss has taken over Carlton, that it does take a fair while for a rookie to get through the door. He's certainly lent more towards the mature age players in the bigger roles. So even if he does get in, it could be a not very friendly SuperCoach role that he gets, but he'll certainly be someone to monitor. I think he's going to be a good pick for Carlton. Just another player in that midfield to add. So, we'll hear a fair bit about him in pre-season on how he's tracking.
Who was I can't remember the guy's name now, but who was the midfielder that they lost to the Dogs?
Matt Kennedy.
Matt Kennedy, thank God. I can't believe I couldn't remember his name. Jagger could just, take his role. But then we're going to see the exact same thing that we've seen for the last couple of years out of Carlton, where they had that extra midfield. They didn't know what to do with Kennedy. Then they didn't know what to do with Chera at times. And then Hewitt as well. And it's going to be the same thing for Jagger. Jagger's an inside mid. He can probably do a little bit more around the ground, but it's just going to be copy and paste what we've seen from Kennedy in the Carlton mids for the whole last time. So Jagger's probably one of these main guys that I'm a little bit cautious of for getting for SuperCoach, just because if they play him out of position, then we're not going to be getting the best of Jagger, and we could be seeing a more closer to 60 points than we could see to anywhere close to the triple dig.
And being that elevated price, the lower average will mean that he becomes a slow burn and might be someone that we don't select unless, we're desperate for rookies and the cupboard's bare in that midfield, which I don't foresee that happening. Carlton also picked up the Camberelli twins. Ben is probably closer to an AFL berth than Lucas is, but the club rated both of those guys fairly highly, and then they drafted Harry O'Farrell and Harry Charlson, who are pretty far down the depth charts there, so we probably don't see them in 2025. Collingwood drafted Joel Cochran, Will Hayes, Charlie West, probably guys that we don't see in 2025. So there's not a lot to talk about on them from a draft perspective, unless you guys have any ideas.
It'll be similar to last year. If players get hurt, they're an older side, then we might see them come in. Like we got a few decent Collingwood rookies last year, but that was due to injuries. Similar thing happens here, but I feel like these guys are certainly a lot further behind than what the Collingwood rookies we saw last season. So, I don't expect many of these blokes to be popping up for us. I mean, probably the first round pick from last year, Harry DiMatteo, is the best option for a Collingwood rookie, but I don't think we'll be worrying about too much about Collingwood rookies next season.
I just love that video that they put up for Will Hayes and his family reactions when he got drafted. I reckon that was just bloody awesome. I almost brought a tear to my eye how good that was, watching his mum and his sister getting so excited for him. Awesome. But it's nothing for SuperCoach. I don't really see, unless you said it, if Harry gets into the side. But other than that, this is just the Pies. It's just what we expect from him.
So quickly moving on to Essendon, they picked up Isaac Kako, Cale Girine, Zach Johnson, Reece Unwin, Jaden Nguyen, Angus Clark, Archer Day Wicks in the rookie draft. The most relevant pickup there is Isaac Kako. He's almost a lock into the forward line as a rookie for them. He's not the same type of player, but he will take that Jake Stringer role, that point of difference in their forward line, who could potentially roll up the ground, but he can change a game with a few disposals. And we know in SuperCoach you get points for impact as well as for what you do with the ball, just on the plain stats sheet. So he's going to be a really popular rookie for most people in 2025. I'm assuming we're all locking him in.
Mm-hmm.
Seems so. I think we'll see a lot in preseason of people comparing him maybe as the Nick Watson of 2025, but I think at a much cheaper price point, and I think Kako's probably more ready than what Watson was. So, and yeah, I think Kako is going to be extremely popular next year, and yeah, he's one of the few rookies that's an absolute lock into a side's best 23.
The other guy I just want to quickly talk about is Archer Day Wicks. He's got a ready-made body, but the problem with him was his finishing and his impact throughout a game. We've seen these types get a chance under Brad Scott, so we could see him over a Davey Jr. or a Menzies if someone in that forward line needs to be changed out, but I don't think he's rookie relevant early on in the year. Just someone to keep an eye on as potentially someone who gets a chance later on.
He'd be a good one to have a look at. As like, as you said, it is a ready-made body, and yeah, needs a little bit of polish. But we've seen guys that have come through that have had knocks on their kicking or their handballing and stuff like that. But they have the ready-made body, and then you have one pre-season, and then have a look at that. They're ready in the first 2 rounds. So yeah, he's definitely one that we can keep a look on for there. And I'd be remiss for Horse. I'm sure he'd be very upset with me saying that the Flag Dons don't have a chance this year again, but they suck.
I think Essendon has the good bones of a team though, so there's definitely a good team there somewhere. It's just someone's got to find it. We'll move on to Fremantle. They picked up Murphy Reid, Charlie Nichols, Jaron Carr, and Aiden Riddle. So initially, I would have thought that all three or four of these guys wouldn't make their team, but someone close to the club who I ask a lot of questions to reckons Murphy Reid is in the plans for round 1. I don't know where he fits, but this screams sub risk to me, and don't really want to go near there until I see or hear any different. But yeah, like I think the team, like the Dockers team, and I'm probably speaking very biased here, is pretty solid across the park. There wasn't a lot of holes. They just needed to get more experience into the young guys that they've pushed through, and they've drafted quite well for what they needed heading into 2025.
Yeah, I'm pretty high on the Dockers next year. But yeah, I think you're pretty spot on with Murphy Reid. I think there's a bit of a sub risk. In terms of the other guys, I don't know enough about. I know Murphy Reid was projected to be top 10 until like a week. So about a week prior, he was projected about top 10, but slid a fair bit in Toomey's Phantom drafts and all that. And it turned out that, yeah, he slid a fair bit all the way to, did he turn out to be pick 17? Would I be correct there, Damo?
Yeah, pick 17. He was actually number 6 in Cal Toomey's power rankings just a few weeks before the draft went down. So he slid quite a bit.
What sort of role do you reckon that if Murphy Reid can get a full game into that Dockers team, what sort of role could you see him play?
He's much more creative. He impacts the scoreboard much more than a Jaeger O'Meara or a Bailey Banfield does. So I think he's a chance to move between the half forward, midfield, sort of outside, sort of sort of position. But there is a chance he does get some inside minutes, leaving someone like a Sam Switkowski or a Shai Bolton forward. I know they've pushed Switkowski into the centre bounce setup sometimes just for a point of difference, and maybe Murphy Reid kind of takes that away from Switkowski. And I spoke about Bolton. Obviously, Bolton hasn't played for the Dockers yet, but he did push up into the midfield for the Richmond at times. They might decide that Bolton's better off parked inside forward 50, and maybe Murphy Reid's the creative type that they put into the midfield to give them something different at some points.
Yeah, indeed.
Bloody interesting as well, because they are deep, like midfield-wise. We're speaking about it, like they have a lot of good midfielders, and we didn't see a lot of rotations from the Dockers last year in regards to that. So I would like to see where Murphy Reid will fit, but I like the inclusion that they got for Shea Bolton there. I think Bolton's going to be good for the Dockers, and they're an exciting young team. That's coming up and in, and we still get to see all these players, that have extremely good impact on the game, and their defense is just going to be so solid now with Luke Ryan and sexy man Alex Pearce back.
Yeah, they really missed Alex Pearce in the last part of that season.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was just going to say before you move on, just looking at that team, it is a very, very good team. I like all areas of that best 23 and then the depth included. So I think, I'm pretty high on Freo, and I think they could be a real bolter team for next season.
If we move on to Geelong, they drafted a whole bunch of players that I have no idea about. Jay Polkinghorne, Caton Mattify-Forbes, Joe Pike, Jacob Moliere, Xavier Ivasic, Killian Burke, Lennox Hoffman, Patrick Rechko. These are players that we might see at some point. They're not Supercoach relevant. We really have no idea about any of these guys, but we didn't really know anything about Lawson Humphreys until he played either. So these guys could come from the clouds and absolutely dominate when they come into that Geelong team. The Geelong recruiters are really good at identifying needs when they do draft, and I wouldn't rule anyone out of in terms of coming in and having an impact as a rookie, but because it's Geelong, they've drafted out of obscurity, and we just got to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, knowing Geelong, they've drafted all these blokes to be 5-time All-Australians, 200-plus games, and they'll be annoying players to deal with in 5 years' time. So, in terms of next season, I don't think we'll be getting much relevancy out of the Geelong picks. I'm surprised they didn't end up going with Alex Dobson, who I think was heading into the draft the highest rated ruck, but he turned out to go in the mid-50s to St Kilda. But they found another ruck, I believe, in the draft, Jacob Moliere. So we'll see how that goes for the Cats. I think they'll be, once again, and annoyingly, a very good team next year.
Hey, they got Toby Conway for their ruck. He's coming up. He's going to be looking nice as well. So hopefully he gets some really good, consistent footy under his belt. Shannon Neal looks nice, but I'd say if they can get Toby Conway into that ruck, and he can really shine because he's got some game. Big Conway. We saw a little bit of that last season. Get him in there for the whole time, Scotty, and we are happy days.
And Shannon Neal, most improved player next season. Throwing that out there. Yeah, I really like him. Mm-hmm. He's working. He's working with a personal trainer in Perth over the off season, and he was the one that was training Luke Jackson before he really exploded. Nick Martin the year before, so
good old body magic.
Yeah, body magic. Love Island legend himself. So good on him. And he's training with Shannon Neal, and I really like Shannon Neal for next year.
I saw that bloody video where Shannon Neal was squatting 160 or something like that 6 times.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that bloke is a weapon.
He's going to be the next Tom Hawkins. We already see it.
Yep.
I was on break from work just the other week, and he walked past me, and I reckon I was half his size. Like he is a tall bloke. Like,
and he's strong. I reckon too.
Yeah,
he's like 200 centimeters. Oh, yeah. 110 kegs.
Like massive.
He's going to be a star, and we can't do anything about it but cry.
Yeah. Sucks.
We'll move on to Gold Coast. They obviously picked up Leo Lombard, their academy guy. He's going to come into that 23 straight away. It doesn't matter. We just got to pick him. He's going to impact straight away no matter where he plays, whether they park him forward, put him in the midfield, put him on the outside. He will hit the scoreboard, get 20, 25 each week. He's going to be a guy we need in our teams. And thank goodness for his junior years, because he probably has forwards eligibility as well.
I mean, he was already a lock for me, but after his draft interview, that just sealed it totally.
Fuck yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to repeat it, but yeah, no, he was an absolute legend for that. But yeah, Gold Coast, once again, I mean, hopefully brand new logo, brand new potential for the Suns. Yeah, interesting logo to say the least anyway. But yeah, they're a great side on paper. It's just putting it on grass for them. So second year for Dimmer. We'll see if there's any other youngsters there. I mean, they got Zach Evans as a Category B rookie as well late last season. So I played footy against Zach Evans, fun fact. So we'll see if he was a star at cricket. We'll see how he goes on the footy field.
Very nice. Yeah, big fan of Lombard. I can't believe his old man is a UFC fighter as well. He was an absolute beast there too. So just great, obviously great genetic. But he's going to be one of those guys where we just all have him in our team as the rookie price there. Gold Coast, yeah, they're going to, hopefully they can finally make a final, do something. I don't know who's going to win a final first, them or Essendon, but it's going to be fun to see who they're. And they don't really have, I mean, if Ethan Reid could start to come up the ranks, like, he played a couple of games last year, get a bit more experience under him. If he could start to come up and we see him, like, as more of a ruck role, then what did he play? I think he played full back last year or centre half back. But yeah, if he got into that ruck role when Witsy's down, then I'd definitely be having a crack at Ethan Reid when that's a chance, because he can play.
They also picked up Max Noble in the rookie draft. So yeah, Freo fans would be pretty disappointed with that.
I mean, speaking as a Freo fan, he was probably the weakest link out of all the unsigned guys that the Dockers had that they wanted to keep, and they wanted to move a player to the rookie list, and it's just the risk you take, and I think teams are going to take advantage of that more often. Like, club recruiters want to be able to just move players from list to list without having to redraft and delist all that and all that sort of thing. So the more clubs take advantage of a player not being on a list anymore and being available, essentially, I think there'll be more push for the AFL to change the list mechanisms and how that all works. But I mean, he's Max Noble has every chance of being the heir apparent to Jared Witts. He's got the height. He can play forward. He kind of has some really nice traits where he can impact below his knees when the ball's on the ground as well, which you don't see in a lot of ruckmen. Obviously, Luke Jackson's more of that mobile type, but especially those really tall guys, you don't really see a lot of that in them. So I think Max Noble is a chance to surprise some people on the Gold Coast on how quickly he might get games. Move to the Giants. They are such a hard team to read because they seem to find places for their rookies. It's just you never know where until you see the preseason games. They picked up Ollie Hannaford, Cody Angove, Jack O, Josiah Delana, Harrison Oliver, and Logan Smith. And none of those guys you'd think would push their way into the 23 long term. Some of them might get an opportunity early with those guys suspended for that off-season debacle, but I don't think long term we're going to be seeing many of these guys early.
No, I wouldn't have thought. I think it's more likely we'll see some of these second or third or fourth year players as depth. They'll come in like a Phoenix Gothard, James Leake, who seems like he'll have a good chance of getting in. Jacob Ware as well. Josh Fay, we didn't see any Josh Fay last year. We'll see if he can prove himself this season. But yeah, their depth got really picked out over the off season. So there'll be a few names here and there from the Giants. The Giants are usually pretty good when it comes with rookies. So certainly there's some guys there that we keep an extra eye on. But unfortunately, it's tough to get Giants information over preseason because it's just tougher with the expansion clubs to get information out of. I mean, you think of the past 2 seasons, who have been the 2 biggest cash cows that have that no one picked up? 2023, might have been 2022, it was Jack Buckley. And then last season, it was Bodie Euland, and both expansion clubs. Not much information coming out of them. So, but yeah, we'll just have to keep a real eye on some of these blokes.
Bloody bang on the money. And also, too, like they've gotten, they had a fair chunk of their guys now gone, with Cummings obviously left and Perryman. So that's 2 big holes in the back line that they had to fill. And it could be a point there for it. But Perryman being one of those guys that's a half-back flanker and where we can generate a lot of points from as well for SuperCoach, that does leave a bit of a hole where, Whitfield obviously does it, but there could be an opening for someone else there. That means if Iden can step up into it, but he's more of a lockdown type of player, but it definitely does fill a need for someone there. Lockie Ash could probably step up into a bit more of a consistent type role there, and then they just need to be able to find that next piece. That next piece could be the piece of the puzzle that we want for SuperCoach.
Absolutely. So James League, Harrison Oliver, even someone like a Joe Fonte who should come in under 200k, who they drafted last year, could come through and play that role and just be really relevant for us early on. So all eyes on the Giants and what they do. And like you said there, Stephen, we don't get a lot of information out of the expansion clubs because no one really covers the northern teams.
Well, and when reporters do, they mainly go to Brisbane and Sydney as well. Better teams. Giants Sydney debatable, but they're the teams that get the most attention.
Stephen, let's move on to your Hawks. They drafted Cody Anderson and Noah Mraz. They also picked up Matt Hill and Jamie Henry in the rookie draft as a rookie B prospects. They're not going to make a massive change to their 23, are they?
No, I wouldn't. I'd be so surprised if any of those 4 got in at any point this season. So I'd be worrying too much about our current rookies from this year. I guess guys to keep an eye out for. Jasper Scaife got really close. He was actually going to make his debut, I believe, against Freo in Tassie, but the day before the game, he got injured at training. So he was going to play. So keep an eye out on him. Guess Sam Butler, how he recovers from that broken leg. Really nasty injury that. Bailey McDonald didn't get any exposure last season due to quite a few injuries, but I really like him. Good bit of pace that he's got. So hopefully he can just stay healthy. Bodie Ryan's still a while off, but yeah, not too many of these blokes. Ramsden might make the odd appearance, but yeah, not too much rookie-wise for Hawthorn.
It's so annoying that you guys just get bloody Tom Barris and Josh Battle. Like, just exactly what you needed. Right. Oh, it's such a pain in the ass. God, Hawthorn are going to be good.
Stephen, does Jasper Scaife move ahead of a Marby or Chol to take Mitch Lewis's spot in the 23? Or do you think it's Marby or Chol that comes in?
Oh, it would be Chol to start with. It'd be more dependent on if he's because I don't see Gunston playing that much next season. So I mean, if one of them was to get injured, Scaife would be in the frame to get a run, but that could also mean Max Ramsden comes in there as well. So, but yeah, just a guy that probably not with much job security at all, but he might make his debut before Lewis comes back at some point.
Let's head to the Demons. They had a really nice draft hand. They picked up Harvey Langford and Xavier Lindsay with 2 top 10 picks, and then also added Aiden Johnson, which is a mature age key forward. And Simon Goodwin loves his mature age players, and he's always been someone who backs in the rookies. We've seen Blake Howes come through last year, play some solid footy. We had Judd McVie the year before. Obviously, Caleb Windsor came through. Simon Goodwin does back in the draftees to make an impact when he selects them. So I wouldn't rule out anyone that they picked up coming into that 23. Aiden Johnson as a mature age key forward. They haven't really had a key forward in quite a while that can make a difference. So we might see Aiden Johnson fairly soon. Xavier Lindsay and Harvey Langford, you would assume get into that 23 straight off the bat anyway. Just lots of Supercoach relevancy with these guys and who they drafted.
Yeah, agree. Melbourne's one of the good clubs when it comes to draftees and rookies for Supercoach. So Harvey Langford could come in straight away. I'd probably see more as a half forward, more to with a bit of midfield time for him. Lindsay pops on the wing. I think he'll rotate with Langdon and Sharp and Windsor. So maybe there's actually a fair bit of competition there. But good left footer. Really like the look of Lindsay and Langford there for the Ds. Aiden Johnson, might be a better forward already than Daniel Turner. So you never know there. So I think we'll be seeing a fair bit of exposure out of these rookies for the Ds.
It's just the same D's team, really, isn't it? That we're already just expected to. Yeah, we'll probably get one or two guys in there. Probably being Langford, maybe Sharp, Marty Hawk, and come back in. Oh, Billings, ooh, yuck. But Lindsay, my God, when I first saw him, I was like, that's a 40-year-old man. That he looks so weathered, and to think that he's 18 has got me stuffed. But hopefully he goes well. He's a good football player. I would 100% say that. And him and Langford. I mean, Langford. I reckon Langford could be an absolute star. And the D's are able to snap him up. It's just got that big body. Just needs a bit of more polish, and he'll be right there. I think Langford would be one that I would maybe think about. It just depends because it's this D's team. It's going to be so hard for them to get in, or we just hope that Langford doesn't play at all this year, and then when Petrarca goes to Collingwood the year after, and then Langford comes in, you beauty, we're rubbing our hands. Thank you very much.
And don't forget superstar Tom Campbell.
Ooh, yuck.
Skiddy, you are right. Xavier Lindsay does have that sitcom dad look about him. So I actually think Xavier Lindsay plays before Harvey Langford does, but I've got them both in the round one team to start at the moment. Obviously, things can change over preseason, but I reckon you don't draft top 10 players to not play them unless they're a project player.
Especially in this draft, how deep it was.
North Melbourne, Skiddy, your team, they drafted Finn O'Sullivan with their early pick, and then they picked up and then they picked up Whitlock and River Stevens.
Mm-hmm.
Finn O'Sullivan comes into that 23, you would assume. Talk us through how their 23 is going to be made up, mate.
Yeah, hopefully better than we have done the last few years, because that's been disappointing. But hopefully this is the come up, and we would hope so, because we don't do that unless we trade away our first round pick next year. So let's hope that we improve. I think Finn O'Sullivan comes in pretty comfortably, same as Caleb Daniel, same as Jack Darling, same as Luke Parker. I'm not fully sure if Costanti will come in. He'll have to have a pretty good preseason to bowl over Eddie Ford, I would say. Will Phillips just on the outside there. Yeah, it's about how it's going to be, because that is just how the team's going to work right now. I think Goda will play round one if he is back from that Achilles. They really, really like him at North, so I would be pretty comfortable to say that he'll be coming in there. I like the acquisition of Urquhart as well from WA. He really showed when Bo Allen was out in one of those games. He stepped up big time, and I'm pretty sure he had I think it was 10 clearances and 25 disposals, something like that. So shows that he can definitely be there. He's one to watch, because Clarko does not have a problem with playing young guys. The problem is that they just keep getting injured. So hopefully that goes well. Will Dawson's one to watch as well. He did his shoulder last year, but he's put on 13 kg of muscle, and he's already 200 and something centimeters. So he could definitely fill the role there for North. Other than that, let's just hope that they finally got off the bottom ladder for the first time in 50 years. Be great.
What sort of impact do you see Finn O'Sullivan having? Do you reckon they'll throw him into the deep end straight away, or what sort of role do you think he'll get straight out, straight off the bat?
I think that it'll be like probably half forward, half back kind of role, mixing with some midfield time. It's just how it's going to be for him, I believe. I know Bailey Scott's got one wing, but there is a chance that Finn O'Sullivan can just run that second wing. But I'm pretty certain it's going to be Colby McKercher on the other side there, as we've been hinted at that Colby's going to be pushed up further up the ground. So, yeah, I think Finn's just going to kind of be a little bit of everywhere, but he will get that midfield time as well to learn the ropes with the boys in there.
Very good. So Jacobs Constanti doesn't make the 23 to start off with, you don't think? Is what you were saying before?
I would say that Eddie Ford is ahead of him. I'd be pretty comfortable in saying that. For like Clarko loves Ford, the stuff that Ford's able to produce is very much needed for North, while Costanti's more of a pressure type forward, which Curtis and Zohar both kind of do at times. I think it's more going to be Eddie Ford than it will be Costanti.
And I'd be a bit concerned if, these clubs like Geelong and Sydney, who develop players so well, were just that quick to push him off the curb out of the club. So there must be something that maybe is holding him back, but he could really resurge as a North Melbourne player. I believe he was a very late first round pick, early second round pick just 2 years ago. So
20th.
Yeah, I think he was part of the Josh Weddle trade, which we absolutely smashed him in that trade. So, but we'll see how he goes. Good depth for North in the small forward position there. One player I really hope can get going, I believe he's out again with an ACL, is Braden George. I really like his character. I like the look of him before he got drafted. So really hope he can get a strong run at some point in his career.
Port Adelaide. So putting together their 23 was probably one of the hardest tasks that I've ever done, because Ken Hinkley liked to make about 4 or 5 changes every single week. So I don't think Ken Hinkley even knows what their best team looks like at the moment. They picked up Joe Berry, Jacob Moss, Tom Cochrane, Benny Barrett, as well as Christian Moraes. And they also picked up Jack Whitlock. So the other Whitlock. And
worst one.
You'd certainly hope so. You'd certainly hope so for the sake of North.
First round pick. Go on.
I think Joe Berry pushes into that team straight away, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Christian Moraes in that team in round 1, but I don't know where anyone fits, because I don't think even Ken Hinkley knows where anyone fits, which is great from the outside looking in. Even asking Port fans, I got told like 18 different scenarios for about 45 different players. So it's like, honestly, this team could be anything in 2025 in terms of how they line up, where they finish, who plays where. Like, guys, floor is yours. Try and help me here.
Mate, it's a bit of a struggle having a look at this depth chart here. But, I mean, just any of the blokes in blue could get a game straight away. So one thing I'd like to see, I don't think they'll do it, but I think Jack Lukosia's best position is halfback. I'd like to see that in play, but I'm not sure whether that will happen. They got some good depth, Port, key forward-wise. So they got a few options there. Joe Richards comes in, you would assume on a 4-year contract he plays straight away. He's not there for the Magpies, Port Adelaide Magpies premiership there. Jordan Sweet, I mean, he's killed Soldo there, who cracked the sads, wanted to leave again, but has stayed. We'll see if Travis Boak gets some midfield time. Horn Francis, I mean, I guess we could bring this bloke up. He's looks like he will be a forward, so fair to say he could get a lot of ownership in SuperCoach in 2025. In terms of the rookies, I really like the look of Joe Berry. I think he is the modern type of small forward that teams crave. So I think Berry will be fantastic for them. terms of the other guys, I think Whitlock's probably a while away just due to that depth, where compared to Matt Whitlock, where there isn't as much depth at North. Christian Moraes could be like an outside winger, like half forward type of player. I think he just needs to touch up his disposal, but other than that, he's a bloke that was pretty highly rated about 12 months before the draft, but really fell. So he's an interesting one for next year. And obviously, superstar Rory Atkins, we'll see how he goes.
I'm telling you, with this team, I could not give a stuff about any of the other players. Just tell me who's going to be that half backer. I want to know who fills Dan Houston's role. Is it going to be Farrell? Is it going to be Burgoyne dropping from the wing to half back? Are they going to bring someone that we're not even on our radar to come and play that half back role? Or is it Miles Bergman? I need to know, because there's points from there. That's what I need. I know that they had Logan Evans as more of a defender than a halfback running defender. Is it Farrell? Is it Bergman? Is it someone else? Tell me. All I need.
If I had to guess, it would be Farrell, but yeah, I don't know.
Maybe that's where Christian Moraes comes in.
Bingo. That's what I'm hoping. But
was it's Hinkley.
Let's hope so. As a halfback running type defender. Ball mover, not as a defender, as a ball mover.
Yeah, that could happen. I'm not sure how good of a job he would do at it, considering his biggest flaw is disposal efficiency, but that's all right. It'd be a good rookie.
The hardest team to put together was Port Adelaide. They really, you could put players in various different positions and it would make sense. So one team to keep an eye on throughout the preseason. They've got some holes that we need some answers for, and maybe we just get some rookies filling those gaps. Richmond drafted their entire team in this most recent draft. Jonty Fall, Harry Armstrong, Thomas Sims, Jasper Alga, Taj Houghton, Sam Lawler, Josh Smiley, and Luke Trainer as well. I knew I missed someone. Their team is going to be very interesting in how it's set up. Do they throw the kids in the deep end and try and get as much experience into them all at once, or do they kind of drip feed them into the 22? I went into the deep, dark depths of the internet and went on the Richmond Tigers Big Footy page and had a look at the 22s that they were talking about. And it looks like most fans are expecting one of Armstrong or Fall to be in the 23 straight away, and also Lawler and Smiley to be in the 23 from the get-go. But from there, it was a big mess, and I got out of there as quick as possible and tried not to leave a trace. Until mentioning that I was there on this podcast just now.
I don't wish that upon my worst enemy, mate. So I feel sorry for you there. So, I mean, this just looks like an expansion team, doesn't it? Like half these names. My gosh, it's like I have to remember a new team now. Jay. Well, I mean, I presume Fall, Armstrong, or Sims plays. I think Sims is more of a project than the other two, so I think we'll be seeing Fall and Armstrong a fair bit next season, and they're definitely already better than Kaczynski. And then you got Nane Curtis there for a bit more experience, of course, along with Prestia, Hopper, Taranto, the similar sort of names. Did anyone see the photos of Kane McAuliffe in pre-season?
Oh, he is built.
That's a bodybuilder right there, so good on him. Yeah. Smiley and Laylaw, you would assume, plays. Be interested to see that half-back role. Is it Jaden Short? Is it one of these new guys mildly new guys like Sam Banks or a Ralph Smith to play that role? Tom Brown's really impressive. I really like the look of him. Dresice, there was a little bit of talk about last season as a rookie, but didn't quite eventuate there. Luke Trainer probably has a chance to get in as well. So there's a lot of moving parts, and we're going to hear a lot of Richmond preseason updates, that's for sure.
Mate, I've already heard enough of Richmond. Oh, premiers from 2030 to 2045. Oh, my God. Shut up. I know you drafted well. It's honestly like they got like the perfect player for each position that they had the draft in. Like, they get Layla and Smiley, and then they reach for Taj Houghton, but then they still able to get Jonty Fall, and then bloody Armstrong and Trainer just fall into their laps in the 20s. Like, oh, piss off. It annoys me, but geez, be excited if you're a Richmond supporter. I really like the look of Luke Trainer. I think he's going to be one hell of a footballer, a very, very nice defender. He could be, if he gets like into the Richmond team, then I can really see him being a solid SuperCoach option. Smiley's obviously just huge. Layla's the creme de la creme. But they still have a midfield. That's the thing about Richmond is like, we sit there and go, oh, Layla's getting the keys to the city. They've got Hopper, Pressia, Taranto. Like, that is still a genuinely good midfield. When Pressia can stay on the park because obviously his hamstrings are made of glue.
Red Vest legend.
Yeah, exactly right. So, there's a lot of holes around the ground, but their midfield's still pretty tight. So, Layla and Smiley, you would assume, will get runs in there, but they won't be like startup walking straight in there. So, yeah, and then the rest of it, it's just, I think you've done an absolute ripping job of trying to get this as good as you can, Damo, because, God, that'd be hard to figure out who's going to be in this best 23.
I think the best part is Adam Uze's now basically got a blank canvas that he can that he can do whatever he wants with the players he has now. And I think this year we're really going to see how he wanted them to play last year when they had the guys that they had, but now he's able to mold this team, use the players that they drafted to really cement how he wants this team to grow. And like they will want tomorrow to come today as quickly as possible, but like with the guys they drafted, they didn't miss in a lot of places.
No, that's bang on the money. They hit every single pick in my eyes. I think they absolutely nailed that draft. And then they got another future first round for next year, which is even better for them. The other thing I will say is Josh Gibcus, if you get injured in the first minute of the first game this next year, I'm going to be pissed. Again.
We're going to have Gibcus and Reid on the bench again.
Oh, God, that sucks so much. Oh, jeez. And you couldn't get rid of them. Like, you had to make other changes. So they just sat there being a pain.
Let's move to St Kilda. Well, maybe let's not move to St Kilda, but let's talk about St Kilda.
I'd honestly rather move there than talk about
them. They drafted Toby Travalia, James Barrett, Alex Taru, Hugh Boxall, Alex Dodson, Patrick Said, and that was there. Oh, and Amon Armstrong as well as a Category B rookie from Ireland. Toby Travalia is the only one that I can see pushing in to their best 23. Alex Taru is still quite raw. Hugh Boxall, well, they need some midfield players, so maybe Boxall does push in there at some point, but I think they'll give Jack McRae every chance of nailing down a spot first. Toby Travalia, he's going to impact what happens with Sinclair and Wanganeen Malera, and whether one of those guys moves up the ground or maybe Travalia moves up the ground. They're even talking about Travalia potentially playing across half forward, but I can't see that. St Kilda are an enigma.
It's such a weird team to look at because half the players on that list I just don't rate. So it's just, I don't know. I mean, they didn't really address that pure midfielder in the draft, but I think they would have had rocks in their head not picking these two. I think those two are good picks, as my housemates mowing the lawn. I think Jack McRae's a good pickup. Dodson is a while off. He'll be battling with Heath at Sandringham. I don't think we'll see Tauru for a bit. Toby should get a run straight away. Jack Carroll's a guy to keep an eye on as midfield depth. And, it's tough to trust Ross Lyon when it comes to rookies. So it's going to be you're really going to have to be pretty confident on a bloke if you're going to select him as a rookie. unless they're the next Darcy Wilson.
Oh, yeah, hit the nail on the head there. And the funny thing about this draft that St Kilda just did is it was very un-St Kilda-like, where they didn't stuff it up. Like, normally they just make the most horrible picks, but Travalia and Taru, yeah, big yeses there. But we did see them last year with Garcia. They brought him in pretty quickly, same as Darcy Wilson, as you said. So maybe there is a chance that Travaglia can be into that starting team, because he's one of the guys that we can circle and go, yeah, he can get SuperCoach points for us, and he's going to be a bloody good player. So I would hope that he's one of them. And also, too, what are they going to do with the midfield? Like, yes, there's going to be Jack McRae. Yes, there's going to be Jack Steele. But, you got Zach Jones there. You got Windhager. You got Philippou. You got Dow. Philippou is who all the Saints fans are saying, hey, let's get him into the midfield. Who's he taking out? What is Windhager then going to do? What's Zach Jones? Who cares about Zach Jones? And then what about who cares about Paddy Dow? Actually, no, it fits pretty well. All right, all good.
One thing that I learnt about Ross Lyon when he was coaching Fremantle was if you drafted a player and he was forced to put them in the 23, he would just sit them at half forward or half back, and then they would get about 3 touches a game, and then he would just claim that it's part of their journey and all that sort of thing. So I really have no idea where any of these players fit or whether they're going to be relevant, but Toby Travalia seems to be the main hope that we all have. If we move to Sydney, they drafted Jesse Tatoli, Ned Bowman, Riley Bice, Riak Andrew, and Blake Leadler. Sydney's grand final team is really just going to be out Luke Parker, in Callum Mills, and that's the team that's going to play most games in 2025. They're so hard to predict whether a rookie's going to come in or out. Jesse Tatoli, Cal Toomey said before the draft that wherever he goes, he will play senior footy in 2025. But I think Sydney might have been the worst landing spot for him for that call to become correct.
Yeah, they're a hard team to judge, the Swans. I mean, they're just so talented across the board with players. Jack Buller, we still haven't heard much about ever since being a mid-season pick in 2023. Ned Bowman they picked up. I believe the Fox Lab rankings had him 89th, but I think that's totally false. I mean, he was expected to go that range. Don't think we'll be seeing much of him, though. Picked up Ben Patton in the rookie draft as well, so we'll see if he has any sort of relevance there, along with training David Cunningham, I believe, to my knowledge. So they're giving him a trial. But there's a few options there with rookies. I mean, Sydney, when they do put a rookie in, they usually give us a fair few games of the rookie, but it's pretty tough to slot into that side.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be too hard for any of these guys to get in. I really like the looks of Tatoli. I think everyone already knew that when they were. If you've seen any gameplay of Tatoli, you'd be like, "Holy crap, this kid he's got something good." Sydney got an absolute steal there. So, but yeah, hit the nail. I think it's going to be bloody hard for him to be able to push in. I think it's going to be hard for anyone to be able to push into this team. Taylor Adams is obviously going to be the one that will be the obvious one to come in. But yeah, I think it's just going to be too tough. And Sydney do bring in rookies from time to time through the mid of the year, but it's not going to be anything impactful. Like we saw Caden Cleary play last year a game. Corey Warner's been here and there. Sam Wicks from time to time as well. But we just need to see how it's all going to go. But also, in fairness, he was one of the best guys last year that no one really was talking about at this time last year. And then everyone had him in their SuperCoach team as he first started. And that was Matty Roberts. And he turned on to have an absolute unreal year where he played every single game. So hopefully there's someone like that comes through for us this season, but I would lean onto the side of no.
I mean, Robbie Fox is a guy that they've kind of brought in and out of that 23 year. He's kind of someone that Horse relies on quite a bit, but he's probably not their most skillful player, not the most impactful player. And then they did bring in Riley Bice, who's a mature age player who we might see get a game ahead of someone like a Fox, or maybe even ahead of a Braden Campbell, or someone like that. So there is someone to look out for across most lines in terms of rookies. It's just a matter of whether it actually happens or not. But yeah, the Swans are probably just going to keep the status quo early in the season, and then it's probably going to be throughout the year that we need to watch for whatever rookies comes through the door.
Bingo.
West Coast, they drafted Job Shanahan, Malachi Champion, Tom Gross, Bo Allen, Hamish Davis, Luca Grego, and that's their entire haul there. Bo Allen is going to be in that 23 come round one. I don't care where he fits. He's going to be in that team round one. Too good to be playing state footy. Hamish Davis is a chance. Tom Gross is a chance. Even Job Shanahan is a chance. This West Coast is going to be extremely rookie relevant in 2025. It's just a matter of who plays where and how often. But yeah, Bo Allen is the headline act that West Coast have drafted.
Yep, for sure. We'll get a fair few rookies. It'll be interesting to see how Andrew McQualter puts his game plan in place with some of these blokes. Obviously, new coach, so we might see different things with some senior players. Got Jack Graham down from the Tigers. Believe someone else from the Tigers as well. Am I tripping?
Liam Baker.
Liam Baker, yes, Liam Baker. So we'll be interested to see how that gets put into place there. Shanahan, who fell pretty far in the draft, who was projected to even go as far as Richmond's, I think 11th pick, I believe. So, and he fell to 30 there. Malachi Champion, I don't think we'll see. But there's a few guys here. Elijah Hewitt will be very interesting to see for next season. He'll be fairly cheap. Hamish Davis, another one that fell pretty far. But yeah, I think Bo Allen, I think he'll be coming in straight away and making an impact. Just depends on what role.
Yeah, it's all about Bo Allen in my eyes as well. He looks really bloody good. Homer pick for them. That's fantastic. This is the year that Harley Reid's I reckon he's going to step it up, put it into full gear. We know he had a bit of injuries last season, but with the backing of, Jack Graham and Liam Baker to be able to kind of teach him in the right ways and get him going a bit more. Although, geez, I saw a photo of Harley Reid. God, he must be eating real nice over there in WA. Oh, God, they must be giving him platters of food. Woo. He's looking like me after a night on the piss. Oh, my goodness. Absolutely love that. And but yeah, and then shout out to my community, who they would know that I would be very much remiss if I didn't mention this guy, because my community would be pissed as at me. Campbell Chesser is obviously going to be the guy to pick up next year. He's the best player on this West Coast team, nor the league. So obviously everyone go pick up Campbell Chesser.
Funnily enough, Campbell Chesser has returned with pounds of muscle stacked on, and he was their best runner when the first of 4 years returned a couple of weeks ago. So who knows? Maybe Andrew McQualter might use him in the correct and proper way for Chesser to actually be a proper player.
Damo, we have made this joke for the whole of last season, where Campbell Chesser is always a pick-up and it pisses Horse off so much. And then I saw that photo and that report that Chesser has put on muscle and he almost won the time trial, or he did. And I just went, how? You are taking the piss. I'm going to lose my mind this season if I have to keep talking about how good Campbell Chesser is. Oh, God.
Western Bulldogs, the 18th team. We're at the last team now. They picked up Sam Davidson, Josh Dolan, Luke Kennedy, Cooper Hines, Lockie Jacks. I think Cooper Hines and Sam Davidson come into that Western Bulldogs team straight away. They don't need to worry about Harvey Gallagher or Anthony Scott anymore. I don't know why those guys were in the 23 to begin with. Lockie Jacks might get a game as well. We all know Bevo loves his half-backs. He might even play in the ruck. Who knows? But yeah, like Latham Vandermeer, Harvey Gallagher, Anthony Scott, those guys you'd assume will be pushed out of that 23. You'd hope with the draft hand that they had, and Cooper High and Sam Davidson, Lockie Jacks, probably, hopefully. I think Western Bulldogs are going to quietly be a pretty solid rookie, a little rookie honeypot for us as well in 2025.
Yeah, we'll see if Sam Davidson is the Anthony Scott of Lachlan McNeil. So, yeah, they've got about 6 blokes that do the exact same thing that all look the exact same way. But Davidson's blonde, so hopefully there's a little bit of differential there. But yeah, obviously came through the Richmond VFL mature age recruit. And then Cooper Hines, who, yeah, looks really good. I really like the look of him. See if Riley Sanders can eventually get on Bevo's good side there. But yeah, the Western Bulldogs, as much as we bag Bevo, he does give us a fair few rookies to work with throughout the season. So hopefully we can get a few more next year, potentially with Davidson and Hines and a couple of others.
Mate, you said it. It's Bevo, and you just never know, because you look at half these blokes that are on the depth list, and all these guys have played, and not just like one game here and there. Like McNeil played a fair amount of games last year. Vandermeer, Gallagher, Baker, Poulter, Jones, even Caulfield before he got injured. Taylor Duray, like all these guys played. So you just have no idea what Bevo's going to do. That's why Bevo's going to Bevo, and we can't figure out how to do it. Where I don't understand is, how is Matt Kennedy going to fit into this team? Because that's another midfielder. Treloar, Bont, Liberatore, Sanders. Richards was playing really good in the midfield when he went in there as well, when Libba went down. And now you got Matt Kennedy. So Matt Kennedy's gone from Carlton, where he couldn't get into the midfield, to the Dogs in probably the worst other place that he could have gone to get into a midfield. So, yeah, I don't know what we're going to be able to see from there. That's a bit of a log jam. It's kind of just like a... like the team looks good because Marcus Bontempelli is there, but then everything else is kind of like, there's a lot of kind of just mismatching, and they're just butting heads basically. So I can't wait to see that, and yeah, hopefully the Zinger gets a bit more midfield time and actually a bit more game time, and he doesn't get dropped. And I just can't wait to see what he's going to do this year, because what we had, what was the start of last year? Bailey Dale was out. They didn't put him into the side, and Jack McRae then got dropped the week after, and then Caleb Daniel got dropped. So, who knows? Who knows?
Bevo does like to mix things up.
It's a nice way of saying it.
Yeah, that's a nice way to say it. We've spoken about how untrustworthy he is from a Supercoach and an AFL perspective. So, I think, but the Western Bulldogs seem to be cool with it. So, because Chris Grant seems to say that the board backs him. So there's obviously some kind of grand plan that we all can't see yet. It's like some art exhibit kind of thing. They're all a little bit crazy out there in Footscray anyway, so,
Big fact.
Oh, yeah, don't go there.
All right, that's our draft wrap complete. Thank you for joining us, Skiddy. Where can people find your content?
Very much appreciate it, mate. You can find us on YouTube at Inside Fantasy Sports. Me and Horse do 2 shows a week when the AFL season's up and running, which will be Wednesday and Sundays, as we always do. And then if you have any questions or anything like that, over on Twitter at SkiddyIFS. So, yeah, that's the way we do it.
And Stephen, thank you again. Remind people where they can find you.
Stephen D.W. Smith on Twitter, and then SDS SuperCoach on YouTube. And we're not far away from Team Picker being out. So, the off-season's nearly over. Nearly time to ramp up the content again.
Yep.
This has been the Footy Mailbag Draft Wrap. Clarkie will join us later in the preseason. He will be back, and our preseason content will ramp up when the Team Picker drops in late December. More guests, more content. Get around our socials so you don't miss a thing. Thefootymailbag.net is our website. That has all of our links. Thanks for listening. We'll talk next time.